Hey there, everybody. Welcome. This is Kenny and
Kenny squared.
with the sports on the Positive Tip podcast. We can't wait to get into some topics today. Kenny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's beautiful out here. We're like kicking the Mets out of town because they're going to St. Louis, and that's where we're going on Thursday. So that's
Okay.
cool.
Okay. So the Mets are going to be in St. Louis?
Yep, they're going this week. I believe this is their next series, if
Okay.
I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
They take the national stage tonight. Mets and Phillies Sunday night baseball. I'm sure you'll be watching. Uh,
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, yeah, let's get into that real quick because we'll jump into baseball right away. And so very testy series, obviously, with the Phillies. And so I was telling you this started a couple of weeks back. The guy and the pitcher is really good. Alvarado, he's very good. But he wasn't trying to hit Conforto. He just had a couple of pitches get away from him. The first one really missed his head, and then the second one he got hit with, and they were both high. And so the Mets was screaming from the bench, but it was mostly Dominic Smith that was screaming, and Alvarado started yelling back and was trying to say though I wasn't trying to hit him, and I don't think anyone thought that, right? And I'll tie in real quick with our guy Girardi and what happened with the Cardinals this week with them because it all kind of tied in a little bit. So anyway, we flash forward 2 weeks later, and Dom Smith comes up, big spot. The Mets have been not hitting, right? Except last night. They finally broke out a little bit last night, but they haven't been hitting. And Dom Smith, big spot against Alvarado. It would have been nice revenge. He strikes out. Alvarado takes the time to not only chirp back at Smith, but actually walk towards him instead of like chirping and going towards the dugout. He's going towards him. Smith didn't hear anything at first, and so then he heard it, and then obviously he started going. But at that point, the catcher and a few other players had stepped in, and so it didn't go beyond that. It was interesting. The next inning, it was still tense. Miguel Castro threw a few balls inside. He wasn't trying to hit Rhys Hoskins. But when he walked him, Hoskins, after the second one, when he walked him, as he's walking towards first base, he says something, and Castro immediately starts walking towards. So does James McCann. McCann wasn't going to Castro to try to hold him back. He started walking towards first base. So kind of the benches came out again, but cooler heads prevailed, mostly Francisco Lindor, because Castro was really, really upset. So anyway, it's going to be a good year with the Mets and Phillies. I think last night's game was good. It was tense, but it wasn't anything like that. So national stage tonight. Let's see what happens. Now, the tie-in with the Cardinals real quick is that they had a pitcher. His last name is Cabrera, young pitcher. Pitcher's getting away from him, and he's drilling like he's the one who hit Bryce Harper in the face with a pitch. And the next batter is Didi Gregorius, and he drills him in a rip, totally accidental. The umpires don't give a warning. Girardi went nuts, and he said, "Listen, if he can't control his pitches, he shouldn't be pitching." And so Smith used those same exact words because he must have heard Girardi say that, because he said, "Yeah, I know Alvarado wasn't trying to hit Conforto a couple of weeks ago, but as someone said, if he can't control his own pitches, then he shouldn't be pitching." And then he also said, "Listen, he waited till his teammates came out before, he threw his glove off. He said he should just meet me in the tunnel." I'm surprised Smith didn't get fined for that. So far he didn't. But, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully nothing. They just play good, hard baseball, and that's it. But it has been quite the first month. So why don't you start off? You got some interesting stats, and I got listed here some of the leaders so far. So why don't you start off with what's your take, some of the interesting things of what's happened in baseball so far in the month of April?
Yeah, so I'll start out with the Yankees, of course. It's odd because if you told me that the Yankees would be struggling and it's because of their offense, not their pitching, I would have been shocked. In fact, the Yankees lead the American League in ERA. Their bullpen has the best ERA in all of baseball. So all of their pitchers have been pretty good, especially this last turn in the rotation. Cole dominant again. Kluber had his best start in 2 years since his last really dominant start. Kluber, Herman went 7 innings strong. Montgomery, Tyone got his first win in 2 years. Things are starting to turn around for the Yankees. My only concern with them, it's been fantastic. Yeah. Also, Stanton has had 3 straight 3-hit games. Fantastic. Glaber is looking a lot more like 2019-18 Glaber. My only concern is Judge. He's still been hitting. He had a huge hit yesterday, 2 home runs on Friday. But I think that he's very hurt, and the Yankees are kind of letting it slide.
What's the deal with that? There was some things in the papers here about that they're covering something up. What do you know about that?
I don't know. They keep saying like he needs a couple extra days off here and there for like lower leg soreness, but like they're not really saying like what exactly it is. But like a few days ago, he was pulled in the 9th inning for Clint Frazier, which like you don't usually sub Judge for defense, and also it was still kind of a close game.
Yeah, he's a good defensive player.
So I don't know. Something's kind of off. I don't know. I guess we'll kind of see how it goes. Also, the Yankees traded Mike Tauchman for a reliever. I didn't really understand that either, but I guess it is what it is. So overall in baseball, since 1996, about 53% of teams that lead their division on May 1st end up winning the division. So that means, based on general math, about 3 out of the 6 teams that lead the division on May 1st will win it. So let me give you each division winner, and I'm going to ask you, do you think they're going to win the division or not? We'll start.
Before you do that, let me just say this real quick. We close out the Yankees. I love this. Is going to be fun. I love this. But I would say this. I don't know that the Yankees can dominate the way they should this year if Judge doesn't have a big year. It just seems like that team needs him in that lineup. Oh, was he batting second or third? I know they had him batting second for a while, right?
He was batting second, and then he switched to third, which he apparently loves more, and he's been hitting there. So, and Stanton moved to second.
I think he's become such a big part of that team, period, because some of their inspirational players are getting a little bit old, like Brett Gardner. I think that he's a guy they look up to. I think he's a team leader. He's kind of inherited that. I think he needs to have a big year. For him, I think, 25, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, but he's got to play at least 120, 125 games. That's just me. I just think that they need him because, some of this great pitching, same like the Mets, right, is going to waste, So anyway, that's my take on Judge. So go ahead. So 53%, that's amazing. Okay. May 1st. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it seems odd to me, but let's start with our division here, the AL East. Right now, or as of May 1st, so things obviously could change overnight. As of May 1st, the Red Sox lead the division. So what do you think?
No. I think the Red Sox might get into playoffs this year, but I don't think they'll win the division. Either the Yankees or Rays.
Rays, though, I believe I'd have to look this number up exactly. There's something like maybe like 8-17 when they're not facing the Yankees. They've got a bad record when they're not against every other team. But AL Central, as of May 1st, the Royals led their division.
I think the Royals are going to be much better than they were the last couple of years. I think they've done a great job rebuilding. I still think the White Sox will win that division. I don't think the Royals will, so I'm going to say no.
All right. The AL West, and I think I agree with you there. I think the Royals, to me, are the kind of the coin flip team. I don't think the Red Sox will win it. I'm iffy on the Royals, mainly because especially if they can continue to sustain it, the rest of that division's been kind of meh. AL West is the A's.
I'm buying the A's. They'll win the division. I'm just not buying them in the postseason. Yeah, they've got to win at least one series. But I think they'll win that division. I think they're the best team. I think the Angels are much improved, but I think the A's are better than them. I just, I would say, yeah, I'd go A's there.
I'd agree with you there. Shohei Ohtani's looked good. He's no Jacob deGrom, but he's looked good. But I think it's the A's division to lose. All right, let's go to National League. National League East, I believe it was very close because I believe going into today it's a 3-way tie, but the Phillies lead the division or led the division. So
it's hard to say on this one because they're all under 500. Right now, I don't think the Phillies will win that division. No, I'm not. They've had a lot of injuries, so they don't have all their players in just yet. I think I said at the beginning of the year that I thought that the Phillies would make the playoffs, so I'm going to stand by that because I think their X factor is Joe Girardi. Again, top 2 or 3 managers in the game, in my opinion. I don't think they'll win that division, though. I think it'll either be the Mets or the Braves.
Yeah, the Braves have struggled, but they've also been missing one of their big pieces. So I was going to say probably the Mets, but I could also see the Braves. NL Central right now is the Brewers.
They're much improved, actually. They a little addition by subtraction with them, but they made some nice pickups. I don't think they'll win that division, though. I think the Cardinals, I think I predicted them at the beginning, and I'm going to stick with them. I think the Reds have really stumbled out after a good start, but I just think that the Cardinals will heat up as the weather gets warmer. I think the Cardinals have the best team in that division.
Yeah. I could see the Brewers winning it, but I don't know. NL West, the Giants, which to your credit, you had them as one of the surprise teams in the league. So,
yeah. So I can't, again, I think that the playoff picture is going to be really interesting in the National League because one of the things I jotted down is that there's a lot of teams under 500 in the National League. There's not too many teams that are over 500. But the Giants are interesting because they're kind of rebuilding on the fly. They've got, because they always finished in first place. They're one of those teams where it's tough to rebuild because they didn't get high draft picks. But I think that Gabe Kapler, I don't believe I'm saying this because I didn't think he was such a great manager with the Phillies, but he's a very interesting guy, and I think he manages very differently. And his style may fit the Giants a lot more than it did with the Phillies. Even just East Coast, West Coast, although he spent a lot of his career with the Red Sox and Texas, his playing career. So I don't think the Giants will win that division. It's hard for me to pick anybody aside from the Padres or Dodgers. But I think the Giants are going to be in it. I really do. I think that they still have some veterans that are producing, like Brandon Crawford and Belt. Longoria even seems like he's found his second wind here because that guy, we kind of thought he was finished, but Buster Posey though seems shot to me. But we'll see. I think they'll be in it. I don't think they'll win the division though.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think they're the third best team in that division. But I mean, sometimes that happens, but I don't know. The Dodgers are just way too good. At one point, they were on pace to win like 120 games or something like that. Obviously, they've kind of stumbled a little bit.
They cooled off. Yeah, they cooled off. They cooled off. That's interesting. What are so we only picked 2, right? Out of those 6.
I think we only picked 1. I think we only picked Oakland.
Oh, so just Oakland. Well, you said Milwaukee possibly, right? So you said 2.
Yeah, I said Milwaukee possibly. The Royals, but I don't know. Honestly, I think that number is going to be lower this year because especially when you look at teams like the White Sox, when you look at teams like the Yankees, I believe based on, I forgot, Fangraphs or whatever, the Yankees still have the highest playoff odds of any American League team. So even though they've struggled, like they're still there. I mean, the Dodgers and Padres are still good. Dodgers are only a half game back of San Francisco. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like that number should be lower. Like I would say that's probably, I think around Labor Day or maybe even Memorial Day, that would be probably about 50%. But
Yeah, it used to be an old. It is interesting. There used to be an old expression in baseball that whoever's in first place on the 4th of July would be in first place for the rest of the year. But you got to throw some of that out the window. I had no idea that the stats was that high. I'll say this about the Brewers real quick, and I want to compare it to what I said about the Yankees. I think if Christian Yelich, I think who's one of the best play. It's hard for me to say he's underrated because he won MVP a few years ago, but he's not a guy that you hear people talk about a lot. But he carries that team, and if he's not going to be healthy, that team's going to really they'll go into the tank pretty quickly. So that's just an amazing stat. So we'll stay on baseball for just a couple more minutes. Did you have anything else, or did you want me to go through some of these players that have come out of the gate so fast so far this year?
Let's hear some of these amazing guys that have done awesome things here.
Mike Trout
I love
is
these
batting
stats.
Mike Trout's batting 429 after the first month. Now he's not going to bat 400 for the year. I think and that's one of those records that if that gets broken, I'll be shocked. But he's off to obviously a great start. I think he was hurt at the beginning of the year. JD Martinez of the Red Sox is a big bounce back year after an off year last year. He's got 9 homers and 26 RBIs in the first month. Acuna Jr. also has 9 homers for the Braves. So I there's a bunch of folks that have 8 homers, but the one that stands out to me, he's got to be at least 41 or 42 years old. Is Nelson Cruz. Seems like no matter where you put him, no matter what he does, he hits home runs. He's amazing. Jack Flaherty of the Cardinals has 5 wins already, which that's amazing in the first month. Is Jacob deGrom though, and everybody else? He's got a .51 ERA in the first month. Unbelievable. This one shocked me. Mark Melancon. He's now with the Padres, journeyman closer. He's got 9 saves already, which that's amazing because I don't think they have more than 15 or 16 wins. And your boy, I started to say Justin Bieber, Shane Bieber, out there with the Indians, has 68 strikeouts, more than DeGrom and more than Garrett Cole, which I didn't realize that. That's unbelievable. So we've got some guys that are poised to have a huge season. Hey, while we're on baseball, and we'll close out with this, Roberto Alomar, just a really surprising story. Like, I didn't know he was still working for the Blue Jays as well as for Major League Baseball. Certainly on his credentials, Hall of Fame player. He played for a lot of teams. He seemed like he got traded around a lot. Obviously, a huge disappointment with the Mets. But, taking those years out, he was just an unbelievable player. But he had that one tarnish, right, where he spit on the umpire. Which was seemed to be uncharacteristic of him because he never seemed like a guy who lost his temper and stuff like that. But now he gets, and for Major League Baseball to announce it and not do it quietly, it's a big deal where they put out this big announcement that he got fired because of a sexual harassment allegation from a couple of years ago while he was in this position. What were some of your thoughts when you first heard that?
First of all, I think that's really crazy. Because we're talking Hall of Fame caliber guy. I didn't think about this, but the fact that they did really like formally announce it, and like he's on like the restricted list too, like it's like the blacklist of baseball. It must be really, really like a big deal. I think it also shows that like the whole sexual harassment thing, baseball doesn't want to tolerate it. But it also makes me think like, okay, so why are guys like Mickey Callaway still? Like, I know he's like been kind of stranded on by himself island by the Angels, but like just get rid of him. But also it's one of those things too, where like we've talked about this a little bit with Deshaun Watson, how a lot of times you don't know what's going on in private. And I love how people say like character is what you are when nobody's looking. And typically it'll eventually come out. Like your sins will find you out in whatever way that looks like.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, I know he was a huge disappointment with the Mets. Roberto Alomar is loved here in Cleveland. I wonder
Yeah.
if that's going to continue though.
Yeah, and I think he's loved in Toronto as well, because he won 2 championships there. I think you're right in the fact that even the Hall of Fame put out a statement saying that since this happened, not during the time he was inducted, that they're going to let it stay. But the fact that they even considered, kicking him out of the Hall of Fame, that baseball's not playing with this, and I like that baseball is being a little bit more progressive in terms of putting women in different places. I know she's not on Sunday Night Baseball anymore, but I loved when Jessica Mendoza was doing the games. Number one, she was just good. I thought. I know she's still doing games, but not the Sunday night one. But number two, I thought that, man, it reminds me of Susan Waldman being play-by-play for the Yankees, and I think there's one or two other female play-by-play folks for teams. I think that baseball is probably still, even with that, been a little bit behind the times in terms of some of the things you've heard about female reporters and stuff like that. So I think Alomar must have done something pretty serious. Now he's saying, he's denying it, and he's saying that he looks forward to answering the allegation. But I just don't think a guy of that caliber that they would just come out unless they had a lot. Now they can make mistakes, right? But unless they had a lot of evidence, and these days there's so much on the electronic footprint, right? That's how Jared Porter and Callaway and some of these guys that have gotten in trouble. I mean, it's through text messages and stuff like that. So it makes me think that that they had a lot on Alomar, because again, he's a revered guy. He's revered also in Puerto Rico, where he's from, and he's done a lot of charitable work down there. So I think they knew when they were putting out this statement, wow, we're about to really slam a guy that's beloved in a couple of places. Now I think overall, you might poll some baseball fans and they'll probably say, yeah, I remember when he spit on the umpire, when he was with the Orioles. But we've talked about that before, right? Do people deserve a second chance? Well, he definitely got, he got suspended a long time for that, if I remember right. But he got other chances, Alomar. So this will be interesting to see. I mean, it might be the last of it. Maybe he just put out that statement because he wanted to, and maybe he won't fight it. But it's interesting. The people in Toronto, people in Cleveland, and probably the people in Puerto Rico are probably like, "What? Not him?" So we'll see what happens there. I thought that was pretty big. Definitely the winds of change finally in baseball.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's switch over to the NBA real quick, and then we'll end with the NFL draft. So coming down to the wire with the NBA, what are some of your thoughts over the last, I don't know, couple of weeks here? The season doesn't have much left. What are some of your thoughts on what's going on with the NBA?
The Suns, and the Suns and the Jazz is going to be a very interesting race, because also the fact that having the number one seed, I think, is a big deal, but also who you end up playing can be a big factor. Now, obviously both would play whoever wins the play-in tournament, those last two spots. But if you're the number one seed, you get either the Clippers or Dallas. You get the 8 seed, and then Clippers, Dallas in the first round, or in the second round. Sorry. If you're Phoenix right now, who's in the number 2 seed, you would get either the Lakers or Denver. Honestly, I'd rather want the number 1, not the number 2. Needs more, I think, if you're looking at the Eastern Conference, where in the second round you either get the Knicks, hopefully, or the Hawks, as opposed to if you're in the number 2 seed, where you get the Bucks more than likely. So I think it's going to be very interesting seeing those two guys back, or those two teams fighting it out. Also, it seems like everyone's just starting to get healthy at the right time. Kawhi Leonard returned last night. LeBron also returned last night. Anthony Davis a couple weeks ago. So it seems like everyone's kind of just, I don't know. To me, the NBA, the regular season has become a lot less relevant for a lot of these bigger teams where guys are hurt, just take a month off. Even if it's like you got like a sore leg for a day, like take the whole month off, make sure you're rested.
Yeah, I mean, and that's plagued. I'm telling you, man. I think that's going to plague the Nets when by far they have the most talent. They should easily be in the finals, but I'm not seeing it because those guys haven't played together, and I don't see them grinding out a tough 6-7 game series against, let's say, the Bucks or the Celtics. It's hard for me to picture that with them. I'm a little down on Kawhi Leonard. And I love him. I think he's a winning ball player, but the guy never plays. He just doesn't play. And the Clippers are still like almost 20 games over 5. I mean, they have this unbelievable record. They're still right there. They could go on a streak and actually jump into the number 1 spot. I'm just thinking because I think part of that is coaching. I think Tyronn Lue is an excellent coach. But man, oh man, he doesn't play. It's just like, gosh. And so let me ask you this. Chris Paul MVP. What do you think?
I think for me, he should get a lot more votes than he does. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to go more towards Jokic, which okay, I can understand that. But especially if they get the number 1 seed, Chris Paul is the X factor there. Devin Booker's always been like an all-star caliber player. The rest of these guys have taken their play up a level, not just because of more experience or coaching. It's Chris Paul. Look at last year, Oklahoma City was considered a team tanking, and they ended up in the 4 seed, almost beating out Houston in the playoffs. The second that he leaves the Rockets go from team to almost beat the Warriors to kind of a middle of the road playoff team. Everywhere he's gone, he's made the team better. And when he's left the team, they've been worse. To me, he should win the MVP. Even if he never wins a title, at least get the MVP under his belt.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if I had a vote, obviously I don't, but he would get my vote right now. I mean, especially since Phoenix, I hadn't realized they hadn't been in the playoffs in 11 years. And they not only will be in the playoffs, they might be the number 1 seed. And you added one guy. You know what I mean? You added one guy to that team. And now they've got some good young players that are a year older, right? Like Devin Booker and some of the other guys. And their center is really good. Although their center reminds me of Greg Odom. He looks like he's like in his 40s, and he's only like in his very early 20s. But I cannot say enough great things about the way Chris Paul plays. And there's still that, how can I say this? There is still that great need for and it's less and less in the NBA now, because Steph Curry is considered a great point guard, but Steph Curry doesn't really have many assists. He's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him. Chris Paul is kind of a dying breed of the point guard that passes first. He's always done that. And like you said, every team he's gone to, they've gotten better. It's just unbelievable. And this might be the breakthrough. Maybe, because Phoenix, I don't know how far they'll go this year, but if you can imagine, they could be a player away from really, really then taking that next step. And he doesn't seem to have gotten old at all. He's 36. He never was a fast player, but I mean, what he did to the Knicks is what would really, put me over the hump with seeing him as MVP. The way he took that game over down the stretch, and the way he just guided that team throughout, it was so much better when he was on the floor.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard because a lot of people, they love to give MVP based on stats. Like triple doubles are important. Don't get me wrong. 30-point games are huge. Ask Julius Randle. But I don't know. There's sometimes, especially I always go back to the Jimmy Rollins in 2007. Sometimes it's not necessarily your overall numbers, but just the impact that you have on a team. And I feel like Chris Paul might be that guy this year, especially in a year where Embiid has been amazing, but missed a lot of time. LeBron's been LeBron, but missed a lot of time. Giannis has been good, but people are still like, I don't know if he's actually that great. Like, there's so many different, like, it's a weird year, shortened season, a lot of guys missing. Chris Paul's been steady.
Unbelievable. You know, to your point, real quick, and then we'll jump to the NBA, the NFL draft. Well, there was one other quick story that we'll do in the NBA. To your point, it seems like only the National League is the only league that kind of does that, where they give it to that player that brings those intangibles, right? Like Jimmy Rollins, Barry Larkin years ago, Kirk Gibson in 1988. Darryl Strawberry had 39 homers, knocked in like 110 runs. And I think that Kirk Gibson only had 20-something homers and something like 79 RBI. And he won the MVP because, he meant the more to his team. So I'd like to see them step up and just, hey, give it to this guy for the intangibles, unbelievable. So real quick, the Celtics, Jason Tatum, he scored 60 points, right? And the Celtics, that was the highest any team has ever come from behind, 32 points. And they came from behind San Antonio and beat them. What were your thoughts when you saw those highlights?
I was shook because at first all I saw was the 60 points from Jason Tatum. I was like, wow. I have a lot of friends that are Celtics fans. I know that they were super pumped.
Yeah.
But then I see the comeback and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it says a lot. Now I feel like Brad Stevens has been a little too vanilla sometimes, where he's just like kind of there. But that's a big coaching thing, to be able to bring your team back from 32. Like, so often, us as Knicks fans, how many times have we seen the Knicks down by like 15 and it seems like it's a 40-point deficit and the team just mails it in, and they're not even trying, they're just dunking on the other side. Like, I think it says a lot to say, to like keep your team in the game and engaged to the point where they can actually come back. So kudos to Brad Stevens, kudos to the rest of that team. I hope that they stay away from the Knicks in the playoffs. Go face the Bucks, do whatever, but we'll see. Yeah,
it's a great point about coaching, because obviously Stevens kept them engaged in that game. And I think with so many people that can shoot that can shoot 3-pointers in a great way, it seems like no lead is really safe. So that's an unbelievable story. All right, let's wrap up here with the NFL draft. So I was telling you this before we came on, and I'll say it in front of everybody. It's not my thing. I can't sit there. Even the NBA draft either has, that to me is a little bit more exciting, but even that, because it seems like in the NBA there's more trades at the last minute, but I can't sit there and watch it. But it was pivotal for my Jets, and I know the draft was out there in Cleveland. So what were some of your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence and anything that we missed? Anything you saw there that is going to have a great impact on teams as we get ready for another NFL season soon?
Well, first, I did love that it was in Cleveland. It seemed like everyone liked it there. I hope that they obviously they bring it back to Cleveland. All the revenue and stuff is great, but I think they continue. I like them rotating it around to different cities. I know we love seeing it in New York when everyone gets to boo Roger Goodell and then boo whoever the Jets draft. But I like the idea of it going to different cities to kind of see everyone else's feel. I think that was really cool. As far as the draft itself, I think it seems like everything went pretty standard. I think anyone would have been shocked if Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson didn't go 1 and 2. Right. I think the Jets made it very clear about a month ago that's where they were going. The 49ers going with Trey Lance seems kind of interesting, because it seems they're let's go with Jimmy G for a year and then kind of see where we go. I do want to talk really quick about, also the Patriots with Mac Jones. Seems like that type of guy for the Patriot way. We'll see how it works. I want to talk about my Giants, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they got really I feel like they got really blindsided by NFC East teams teaming up against each other again. Because because the Cowboys and Eagles trade up where they swap picks who were sandwiched right in between the Giants. The Eagles got who the Giants wanted. So that's kind of annoying. But it's like you talked about trades. It seems like that trade led to the other trade where the Bears get Justin Fields, who I think right now is probably like the most hyped Bears quarterback in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, Justin Fields is the guy. You ask me, I think the Jets should have gotten him. I think that he's going to be like the Lamar Jackson of this draft, a guy that a lot of people wrote off and then kind of shows that, no, I'm actually like a lot better than you guys originally thought. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I think overall, I look at the Giants. I like that they traded down, got more picks, went with their wide receiver. It's time for Daniel Jones to shine. We'll see what happens.
I agree with that.
I like the Jets going with Zach Wilson. Like I said,
Yeah.
I would have gone with Justin Fields, but I think it was the right pick to go with. And I think once again, we'll see. You look at, I think what's very interesting, the AFC East, you have Tua, who was just drafted last year, Josh Allen, who was a couple years ago, and now Zach Wilson with the Jets, and Mac Jones probably next year with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Very young quarterback division there. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. The only thing with Justin Fields, I guess it shouldn't be taken out on him. I just can't remember the last time an Ohio State quarterback did well in the NFL. It's been a long time. I can't think of one. I'm sure there's been one, but like, Terrell Pryor and was it who was with Washington? Was it Haskett and they cut him? So it's been a while since Terrell Pryor wound up actually being a pretty decent wide receiver, I think. But I can't remember the last time an Ohio State quarterback. But that doesn't mean that Fields won't do well. Listen, I'm going to keep it short. I like the Jets pick. I think Sam Darnold. You heard it here. I think Darnold is going to be excellent with Carolina. I think that the talent is there with Darnold. He was just a wrong fit in the system. So I think that actually it was smart to start fresh. I think that Wilson, I never saw him play. I question the level of competition, but that BYU played, but he seems like he's got a big arm, which you need here in the Northeast and out in the Midwest where you are, these cold weather places. You need a big arm in November, December. Wilson definitely has that, and so we'll see. I think it's gonna be fun to watch some of these guys grow. I couldn't agree with you more on Daniel Jones. I'm glad you said that. It's time for him. I think this is the year for him to shine. He's got some weapons now, especially if Barkley comes back. He's got some weapons now, so would love to see him go to that next level. I think he will, but he's got something to prove. And last quick thing I'll say, Trevor Lawrence. I've said this before, man. He's a generational player. I don't think Jacksonville will be all that good at first, but give it 2 or 3 years down the road, I think that's going to be a team to be reckoned with because of him.
Yeah, I agree. Also, that division kind of seems a little meh. I don't know what the Titans are doing. The Colts might be really good this year, especially they have a lot of really good pieces. If Carson Wentz is that last piece of the puzzle, I think that'll be huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, Houston as well.
Well,
not exactly the best of shape.
Let's end there because I'd love to talk about Deshaun Watson. We'll probably have some updates by this time next week. And I'd love to talk about something you texted me about Deshaun Watson this week. And that, that certainly started to get around. So maybe we could start with that, next week. So let's go ahead and wrap up, man. Go ahead and take us home.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. For now, this is Kenny Squared End.
Kenny?
With Sports on the Positive Tip, we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Yes, we will. Thanks, guys.